Hello, MOVATI yogis. Welcome back. My name's Stephanie. I'm going to be leading you through a full body power and flow class for the next 45 minutes. For today's class, I definitely recommend having 2 yoga blocks available to you or any substitutes that would be in similar size and firmness for support. So small hardcover books or textbooks can work just as well, but definitely something a bit firm. Today's class is going to be a full body practice, so working on upper body strength through the legs, a little bit of core, and lots of stretching in between. As always, there will be modifications available. When you're ready, come down into a seated position on your mat. So the seated position can be anything that's comfortable for you, whether that's sitting on a block, pillow, or bolster, ankles crossed with tucked underneath, or maybe just ankles stacked one in front of each other. Letting the hands fall down onto the knees in a comfortable position. Starting to tune in to the natural rhythm of our breath. Taking a deeper inhale, filling up the belly and the lungs, feeling the spine grow. Exhale, maintaining that length, but emptying out the belly and the lungs. Allowing ourselves to pause here at the beginning of practice, as always. Truly allowing us to stop the chase for the moment and reflect back and dive in to all the growth that we have accomplished over these last few months. Oftentimes when we're thinking about our goals, it's always physical, quantitative things we want to achieve. Perhaps adding on to that list how we want to feel. Acknowledging feelings, sensations that we want to feel in our life, and adding those onto our to-do list. What are things, maybe small, every day, that can help us work toward the goals of how we want to feel? Throughout this practice, we'll be working hard through some of the hip opening and front body opening positions. We might start to feel a mix of emotions coming through. Stay with the practice. Let those emotions come through the body. Let them feel and move through to be released in the practice. Knowing that you can always pause this class and then resume when you're ready. If you need a rest, taking child's pose. When you're ready, softly opening the eyes, maybe blinking a few times to come back into focus. From here, we're going to start with just some small engagement through the shoulders. So inhale, reach the arms out to the sides, palms are facing down, out in a T shape here, and we're going to hold in this position. So imagine there was little paint cans hanging off of each wrist. So we're having a little bit of retraction into the shoulder joint, having some strength here, but holding the arms out, maybe squeezing the muscles onto those long arm bones, not just at the shoulder, but around the forearm, squeezing in at the elbow joint as well. Reaching out, feeling nice and strong, chest is open. And then exhale, release the hands down. We're going to work on the wrists a little bit. So inhale, lift those arms back up, and we're going to flex through the wrists. So fingertips reaching up, pressing the palms out. Feeling a little bit of that forearm stretch here. Can we keep all the fingers and those thumbs squeezing together and really press the heel of the hand out, stretching through the forearm? And then imagining that there's glass that we're pressing against. Can we wipe that glass? Going side to side like a windshield wiper, or with our cloth, cleaning, polishing that glass. Playing with our range of motion through the shoulders, through the arms, and then coming back to that upright initial position. Notice, have our low ribs started to pop out, arching? Can we draw a little bit of that core engagement nice and tall? So we're gonna flip the hands, bringing the heels up. So let the pinky side roll down. Heels and elbows are now facing up, almost like an inverted V shape. Can we hold this position? Maybe even reaching the arms a little bit higher. Fingertips pointing down for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release down onto the mat. Rolling the chest up a bit if it came down like mine. And then moving onto our hands and knees. So you can roll forward over crossed ankles, or maybe sliding the ankles out to one side and then coming onto hands and knees into tabletop position here. We're going to continue with that theme of warming up the wrists a little bit. So starting out in our cat-cows. Inhale, let the belly sink down, head and tailbone rise up. Exhale, curl, tailbone under, pressing into the palms, rounding the shoulders. Inhale, belly softens down, head, tailbone rise. Allowing it to move like a wave through the spine, ending that movement in the head. Inhale, softening to lift up. Exhale, curl. So this time maybe adding a little bit more movement into our cat-cow. So for cow, as we inhale, chest and belly come down, maybe leaning forward, feet can even come up off the mat. And then exhale, rounding the spine for cat, pressing back, leaning back a little bit. Inhale, scooping, lifting forward, feet come up as well. Exhale, rounding, pressing back. Maybe widening the stance just a bit. We'll go once more. Inhale for our cow, feet come up towards our seat. And then exhale, rounding, lifting back. Inhale, coming back into our tabletop position. We're going to come down into child's pose. So we can bring the big toes to touch. Knees can be far apart if we're looking for more space, or keeping the legs together if we're looking for more support. As we exhale, heels come down, gaze is forward, arms are outstretched, fingertips reaching down. And then exhale, let the head bow down onto the mat. Allowing the spine to feel a little bit of support here as the head rests down. Seeing if we can actively press into all 10 fingertips. Palms are going to stay connected onto the mat, but can we activate through the arms, lifting the elbows up off of the mat if they were draping down? And then just noticing the spiral of the arms. If we start to spiral them in more, maybe finding a little bit more tension in the shoulders. What if we spiral under the other way? Maybe feeling a little bit tighter, but is that tightness or is that more strength and stability? Playing with the arm positions here, thinking of how this relates to our downward facing dog. And then we're going to come up into puppy pose. So bring the gaze up towards the hands and start to walk the hands forward, chest sliding down, maybe walking the feet out so that the knees are now underneath the hips, and then letting the chest melt down onto the mat. Forehead can be intending down or maybe touching the mat. Or if there's no injuries in the cervical spine and the neck and the shoulders are seeking a bit more depth in the pose, maybe placing the chin down onto the mat. Arms still reach forward. Gaze is now in between the hands. Really bringing that focus of our stretch into the upper back, into the thoracic spine. And then inhale, slowly press, lifting the gaze up, pressing into the hands, lifting the elbows into that really extended table position, and walk the hands back underneath the shoulders, maybe shortening our stance a little bit, bringing the knees back underneath of the hips, and then curl the toes under. Downward facing dog, lifting the knees up, and we're in this upward position, and then think of lifting up and back to intend the heels down. Ooh, maybe feeling that stretch across the soles of the feet, the fascia a little bit tight. Maybe take that bigger bend into the knees, allowing for a bit more control through the hips and through the hamstrings. When we're focusing on the heels down, we feel that really tight calf stretch. But let's focus on our alignment through the hips first by bending the knees. Hamstrings give a bit more space. We can really focus on lifting the hamstrings up towards the ceiling. So not necessarily arching into the back, but let's think about lifting those hamstrings and inner thighs towards the ceiling and then working our way into the calf stretch with the heels coming down on the mat. Feeling it in the arms. How's that arm spiral position? Maybe just playing with bringing elbows to look in towards each other versus coming out. Neck is nice and long. Gaze in between the legs. And then inhale, we're gonna roll forward into our first plank position of the practice. Maybe adjusting the stance a bit longer. Going from plank to down dog, oftentimes we shorten the stance. Going in the opposite way, maybe we can lengthen our plank out. So we're gonna hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend the elbows, chaturanga. We can lower all the way down. Inhale, peeling up for your first back bend. Baby cobra or maybe cobra. Bending the elbows, gently pressing, lifting up, gazes forward. Exhale, coming down. Your choice, move through table or reverse push-up. Inhale to lift up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Taking a deep inhalation here. And exhalation. And then inhale, rolling forward into plank once more. Option is always there to modify, whether that's bringing the knees down to work on building strength through the core and upper body, or maybe coming down onto forearms if the wrists are feeling a bit sensitive. We're going to work on some protraction and retraction here. So with that, think kind of like our cat-cows. Our protraction, we're going to press up, rounding through the upper back as if there's a little fire in between the hands. We're lifting up. And then exhale, retract. Let the heart sink down. Inhale, protract. Exhale, retract for 4. Inhale, lift. Exhale, soften for 3. Inhale, up. Exhale, down for 2. Last one. Inhale, protract, lift. Exhale, soften, chaturanga. Come all the way down. Inhaling for the back bend of your choice that suits your body in the activities that you've done today or the days before. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lifting up and back. Downward facing dog. Pausing here. Finding that breath connection once more. That quality of deep belly breath. Replenishing with the inhale. Exhale to cleanse and release. We're going to bring big toes to touch. Inhale, left foot, reaching up towards the ceiling. 3-legged down dog. Reach through the heel, contracting the hamstring to help lift up. And then exhale, let's bring that left foot forward, in between the hands. Virabhadrasana 1 or Warrior 1. Right heel pivots down. We're going to let the right hand lift us up. Left hand can always come on the knee. Inhale, rising up. Both hands reach overhead. Exhale, sink into that warrior stance. Knowing that the feet can be on a ski track, side by side, or a little bit wider if we're looking for more support and stability in our warrior position. Inhale, keeping those arms lifting up, maybe even a baby back bend starting to happen. If it feels comfortable to bring the gaze a little bit higher, we can sweep the biceps in front of the chin. Hands coming together in prayer. Let the head drop back even further, reaching up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, bring the palms down. Hands either side of the front foot. Roll that right heel up. Now we're in a high lunge or runner's lunge position. See if we can let the hips melt down a bit. Gaze comes forward for 1, 2, press through that back heel, 3, 4, 5. Moving into extended side angle. So left hand can stay connected on the mat, would be the deepest version of our pose. That right heel is gonna float down once more. Think like our warrior 1. Option, placing a block underneath of the left hand. And as the right arm reaches up, we're gonna revolve the chest open. Now, if we're needing a little bit more space, maybe bring that left forearm on top of the left thigh, opening up here, playing with whichever hand option works for you. We're gonna hold into position here. See if we can really allow the hips to come down. And as we roll open, finding a bit of rounding in the upper ribs. Right arm is reaching overhead, so not the ceiling, but towards the front of the mat with a little bit of spiral with the pinky finger rolling down. Gaze can be straight towards the wall, or maybe gaze up towards the ceiling, or a little bit of both, gazing up towards that top hand. And then exhale, revolving down, bringing that right hand down onto the mat, rolling back up onto the ball of the right foot, coming into a high lunge this time. Both hands are gonna sweep up or interlace onto that left thigh to pause as we come up. Inhale, reaching up all the way. Exhale, come back into our lunge. Oof, feeling it in that left leg, keeping that bent position. Remember, not bringing the knee over top of the ankle. We can have it a little bit further back. You can always shorten your stance if it's feeling a little intense. Nice long spine through the head. Palms are facing together. And then exhale, fold. Bring the hands down either side of that left leg. Not straightening it out yet. Revolve, twist here. So left arm draws like a bow along the leg, reaching up towards the ceiling, opening into a twist on that left side. Reaching the left hand up. Noticing if we've pressed out of the lunge a bit. Can we bring the hips back down? Into that state of discomfort, that burning muscle. Can we stay there? Maybe it's just my muscles that are burning. Been shoveling a lot of snow the last few days, but see if we can start to be okay with being uncomfortable. Exhale, left hand comes down, but all the way to be inside of the left foot. Heel toe that left foot out towards the outer edge of the mat. We can stay here in this modified higher lizard. Think lizard meets cobra pose. Or maybe bring that right knee all the way down. Toes can be tucked or not. And then inhale, chest coming forward into our lizard pose or gecko pose. Can stay on the hands. Can bring elbows down onto the mat. Finding the option in the posture that suits your practice for today. Not judging based on where you've been or where you want to be. What position suits you today? Maybe a little roll, little movement. If you want to come into that twist, we can bring left hand up onto the left knee, gently opening towards that left side once again. And then exhale, left hand comes back down if it's not already. Back onto our palms. We're gonna curl that right toe under, lifting the right knee. Heel toe, left foot in between. Going through a vinyasa, guys. Here we go. Step that left foot back into plank. Inhale on the tiptoes, reaching shoulders over fingers. And then exhale, chaturanga, bend to lower or hover. Inhale, lifting up, maybe upward facing dog this time, knees and thighs lift. Exhale, engage through the core, lifting up and back, downward facing dog. Downward facing dog is our reset or resting pose. It's not always the most restful option. Know that you can take child's pose or puppy pose or a version of the two combined, whatever works for you here. We'll repeat that flow on the other side. So big toes touch. Inhale, right leg reaches up towards the ceiling, reaching through that heel. And then exhale, we're gonna bring the right foot forward, in between the hands. Virabhadrasana 1, warrior 1 on the other side. So slight spiral, left heel comes down, hips are reaching forward. On an inhale, reaching to rise up, both arms reach overhead. Exhale, sinking into that true warrior stance. Maybe feeling a little bit more of that calf stretch here. If there's any pain across the low back or hip, we can take it into a high lunge, lifting the knee. Again, palms are squeezing together like they're holding a large beach ball. Or if it feels good to bring the gaze up higher, sweep those biceps together in front of the chin, palms reaching up. Gazing across the fingers towards the ceiling, using our drishti gaze of focus. And then exhale, float the hands down either side of that front foot, bringing the heel up, coming into our low lunge or runner's lunge. So from here, letting the hips sink down a bit, gaze is forward, hands are on either side of the foot still, just opening up through the front of the left hip flexor now. And then extended side angle. If you want that block under the right hand, place it down. Spiral the heel down. And then inhale, left arm is reaching up, revolving the chest open. From that overhead position, we then sweep along the horizon, reaching forward, opening the chest, spiral those pinky fingers down. Finding the hand position, whether it's forearm on thigh, hand on block, or hand on the mat. And then exhale, floating the left hand back down, coming back to that lunge position on the ball of the left foot. We're going up. Inhale, let the belly fill. Press into that right leg as we lift up. Gaze is forward this time. Exhale, sink down into that lunging stance. Knowing we can always shorten our lunge if it's becoming intolerable. But is that our mind telling us it's too much? Can our legs support us a little bit longer? And then exhale, bowing down. Coming into our twist. Inhale, right arm drawing up. Keep that bend, keep the hips low, reaching up. Exhale, pausing, holding here. Can we press that left heel back? Opening, rolling up. And then exhale, right hand comes down inside of the right foot. Heel toe the right foot over, coming into lizard pose. So option to stay here, letting the hips sink down, that hybrid of cobra and lizard. Or maybe bringing that left knee down, allowing a deeper stretch on that right side, maybe even rolling the big toe up and off the mat. If we want to play with the twist and the left wrist feels good, opening up, right hand comes onto right knee, gently pressing the leg open as we gaze over the right shoulder. And then exhale, bring the foot back down, come back onto hands if we went on to the forearms. And then curl left toes under, reaching that left knee back. Slide the right foot back into our plank position. And this time we're gonna chaturanga all the way down onto the mat. Exhale, lower down. From here, inhale, start to bring the gaze up, slide the elbows underneath the shoulders, coming into Sphinx pose. Checking our depth, maybe grabbing opposite elbows, making sure we're planted at a safe alignment space. Bring the palms back out so forearms are parallel. In our Sphinx pose, top of the feet are flat. Can we relax the glutes? Maybe to do that, we need to first squeeze and then release and relax. Inhale, gently pull the chest forward as if we could slide the ribs forward in between the arms. Really bringing that stretch once again into the thoracic or upper spine. And then exhale, gently melt down, let the elbows come out to the sides. We're gonna come into Shalabhasana or locust pose. So inhale, reaching the arms back, chest lifts, head reaches up, thumbs are pointing down, fingers reach back. Inhale, peeling the chest a little more. Exhale to hold. Maybe on that next breath, lifting one foot up at a time, or maybe both. Gazes forward. Inhale, reaching, lifting up. And then exhale, coming down. Slide those hands under the shoulders. Let the forehead come down. Nice long spine here. And then inhale, lifting up. We're gonna slide left elbow underneath the shoulder as if it was Sphinx pose. And then bring that right heel towards our seat, coming into half bow pose. So you can reach back with the thumb facing down on the outside of the foot, or maybe reaching along the inside with thumb facing up. Choice is yours. Feel the rotation in the shoulder joint. Which one feels better? On an inhale, gently press the shin or the ankle into the right hand, lifting up. Left hand, left foot, there to support. And then exhale, coming down. Repeat on the other side. So right elbow comes down, left leg down. Inhale, bend the left foot in. Reach the left hand back on the inside or outside of the foot. Inhale, press that left foot back, pulling, drawing the chest up. Imagining we are like a bow with that tension being drawn. And then exhale, releasing down, both elbows under the shoulders. Sphinx pose for a moment. So you have the option, we can repeat Shalabhasana with arms by the thighs extended, or maybe coming in to bow pose. We're gonna slide the elbows out, head comes down, bend both knees, heels towards the seat. Our option today is to bring the hands to the outer side of the ankle, so thumbs are facing down. We're catching the ankles just underneath the foot, flexing the feet to 90 degrees. Inhale, lifting the chest up first with the back muscles, and then exhale, pressing the shins into the hands, thighs lifting up a bit as we continue to flex the shins back, feeling the chest lift more. Maybe even rocking onto the pelvis a little bit into bow pose or Dhanurasana. And then exhale, floating back down. Extend the legs. Slide the hands underneath. We're going to come into one more back bend. Could be cobra or upward facing dog. Cobra, hands are under the shoulders, elbows pin in. Up dog, they're going to be more in line with the ribs. On an inhale, lifting up. Exhale, core pulls in, downward facing dog. Taking a deep inhalation here. And exhalation. Inhale, bending the knees, gazing at the hands. We're gonna drop the knees down into tabletop position, but then come to stand on the shins. So rising up. Option here if the kneecaps are a little sensitive, perhaps rolling up the top edge of your mat to create a little bit of padding underneath of the knees. Opening up and building towards Ustrasana or camel pose. So we'll interlace the fingers behind the back. Knuckles are facing down. And inhale as we start to extend the arms, reaching the hands back, feeling the chest open. Can we go with that sensation and really work to opening the sternum and the chest up? Head can start to drop back if it's comfortable. If we're feeling a bit of load in the low back, can we engage through the glutes and open up a little bit more? Inhale, come back to an upright. Exhale, sinking the hips down onto the heels, coming into a seated position. Our next version or wave of Ustrasana, we can use blocks. So grabbing those two blocks or whatever props you're using as your blocks. Inhale once more, coming to stand on the shins. And we can place the blocks either on the number 2 or number 3 setting. This would be number 3 in that highest setting, in line with the ankle bones. Tops of the feet are flat. Inhale, find that length once more through the spine, maybe interlacing fingers to start, or the traditional version of bringing the hands to the low back, drawing elbows in, same positioning. And inhale, find length through the upper back first. Think like our puppy pose. And then exhale, start to lean back like the Matrix, and then hands come down onto our blocks. Inhale, can we reach the chest up towards the ceiling, creating space in the spine to lift and arch. Maybe head starts to fall back. If you don't have a microphone on, that could fall off. And then inhale, chin to chest, lifting back to upright. Exhale, come down to seated. Our last wave of Ustrasana can use the blocks as well, or perhaps placing the toes to be curled under and hands onto the heels. So we'll inhale, rising up. Options are there with the blocks or without. Your choice. Perhaps curling toes under, elevating the heels so the feet aren't completely flat at that lowest setting. Once more, we prepare. Inhale, finding length, rounding into the upper back. Exhale, tailbone tuck slightly, leaning back like Neo, and then releasing the hands, find that support, and then can we lift? Realizing, does this pose feel scary, or does it feel energizing? Maybe playing with letting the head fall back. Hoping my ponytail keeps the mic on. Inhale, bending chin to chest. One more big breath, rising up. And then exhale, sinking down. And this time let's reach the arms forward, child's pose. Remember, legs together for support in the spine, or knees apart if we're seeking some space to be created. And then inhale, rising up onto hands and knees once more. We're gonna curl the toes under, downward facing dog, lifting the knees and hips up, and then pulling them back nice and long here. Taking a deep inhalation and exhalation. Inhale, bending the knees, gazing at the space, that distance between hands and feet. I want you to step 1 foot forward, halfway of that distance, and then the other foot can join. Walking the hands back towards the feet, coming into a forward fold. And from here, we can place hands on the shins, fingertips on the ground, or maybe even peace fingers wrapping around the big toes. We'll inhale, finding extension through the spine, reaching through the crown of the head, arms lengthen. And then exhale, start to pull the chest down. And not using the arms to pull, but using the core, squeezing, lifting in as if we can lift up all those internal organs and allow the torso to fold down against the legs. Gazing, or maybe even closing the eyes. Focusing on allowing the skull and the spine to pull down towards the mat, not necessarily pull towards the legs. That only pull and compression is happening through the hips. Inhale, lifting up halfway or to that extended position once more. And let's fold. Exhale, softening to hang down. A little bit of contracting happening on the front body through the hip flexors and quadriceps as they engage, trying to send the signal to the hamstrings to release. Inhale, coming into extension, releasing the feet if we had a grip, fingertips coming down. Now, option to keep fingertips on the mat or blocks under the hand. We're gonna inhale, sweep the right leg, reaching straight back. Think warrior 3, Virabhadrasana 3. So ankle is flexed, toes are pointing down. We can stay here, working to extend that left leg. Maybe fingertips are on the block to get the leg extended. Or we want to accept the challenge offered to us, maybe bringing one hand up to heart center and then the other coming into the true Virabhadrasana flying warrior position. Feeling all those shakes, little adjustments, and then coming back into that extension, pressing and rooting simultaneous through both legs. And then release the hands down and bring the right leg down beside the left. Maybe let out a little exhale there. Repeat on the other side. Hands on blocks or fingertips on the mat under shoulders. Inhale, left leg reaching back, keeping it just at hip height. Not trying to go for standing splits here. Hips are closed, facing down, pressing through that heel. Hands can stay connected. Maybe lifting one hand up and then the other. Soft bend in that right leg, our standing leg initially, and then pressing into extension. As we extend, feel the core starting to engage across the front body, through the side body even, keeping us level. Can we reach back through that heel? And then release the hands, release the left foot down. We're often a society of sighs. Can we inhale, replenishing the breath. Exhale, release. We're going to bring our blocks forward here, placing them underneath the hands if they weren't already, and in this lengthwise position, so going the same direction of your mat. Placing the hands onto the blocks. I want you to step back into a plank position. We can bring forearms down onto the blocks as well if the wrists won't take it. So in this plank position, elevated, we're going to bring knee to chest to hold. So we're going to curl, bring that right knee in as close as we can to the chest and hold for 1, 2, really press and round, think cat-cows, 3, 4, step the right foot back, left foot, hugging it in, rounding the spine for 1, 2, 3, 4, stepping it back. Once more, guys. Inhale, draw that right knee in, lifting and rounding up for 1, 2, 3, 4. Release that right leg. Last side, left one. Draw that knee in for me. Really press and round for 1, 2, 3, 4. Step the left foot back. Option for a little play. Let's go through a vinyasa in our blocked position. So inhale, coming forward. Here's where it's tough. Exhale, lowering to a chaturanga. Inhale, oh, hear that effort. Lifting up into a back bend, gently supported with the blocks. Let's try down dog. Exhale, engage the core, rolling over the toes, coming back into our downward facing dog. Noticing how it feels like a more extended shoulder opening position with the blocks here. And then inhale, come forward and step the hands down inside of our block. Slide them over to the sides of our mat. And then from here, we're going to come down into dolphin pose. So maybe coming down one at a time onto our elbows, interlacing the fingers or palms flat. We can also come into tabletop to do so, grabbing opposite elbows, placing the forearms down, maybe interlacing the fingers, pinkies pressing down, and then curl the toes, lifting up into our dolphin pose, walking the toes in as close as we can, and then holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to go for one-legged dolphin. So inhale, right leg, reaching up just like down dog, but in the forearms. Can we press the heart through for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right leg comes down, straight into that left side. Inhale, reaching left leg up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The left leg comes down. Inhale, step back into a forearm plank. And then bring the knees down, walking back up to table. We're going to come into a seated position. So you can slide the feet to one side or roll over crossed ankles, coming into this seated position, legs extending out in front. Maybe move a bit of that soft tissue out of the way here. And we're gonna come into Janu Sirsasana A. So we're gonna draw that right knee in towards the chest here, and then let the knee fall open. So sole of the foot is pressing in tight alongside the thigh. We're gonna fold forward over that front leg. So like any fold, first we find extension, reaching up, maybe arms come overhead, and then exhale, slowly folding down. Hands may rest on the mat, across the shin, maybe holding on to the foot. Inhale one time, gaze comes forward. Find some length in the spine as if you could hug the leg deeper into the hip socket. And then exhale, bowing down. Inhale, rising up, walking the hands back. Help or lift that right knee up. Extend forwards. We're going to come into Dandasana or staff pose as a little reset. So arms are by the sides, but we're not going to press to actually lift up. Just that engagement of it kind of at attention position. So squeezing the legs together. Maybe if your calves are a little bit meatier, the heels are going to lift right up. Palms press down, hug the elbows in, open the chest, and squeeze towards that center line of the entire body, lifting up. And then exhale, release slightly. I'm going to change angles here for you. So this time, right leg extends. Draw that left knee in towards the chest. And then letting the knee fall open. So sole of the foot tucked in against the inner thigh. Inhale, extension, reaching up once more. And then exhale, start to hinge like you were reaching for something just out of grip. And then release the hands down onto the mat, onto the shin, or maybe wrapped around the foot. Inhale one time, finding length. And then exhale, bowing down once more. That sensation of hugging from the heel down the back side of the leg, deeper into the hip socket. And then inhale, slowly starting to walk back into an upright position. Draw that left knee in as well. And then we're going to bring both feet down so that soles of the feet are pressing onto the mat. We're about to end our practice and recline down, but a little bit of Navasana or boat pose first. So options, soles of the feet can press down here onto the mat, maybe come up onto tiptoes, or maybe floating the shins up. Before we do so, grab your block. I want you to place them beside the hips. We're going to do a little Lolasana lift 2 times here. So finding that positioning on the sit bones where we're not rolling back onto the tailbone, finding some lift, that deep abdominal engagement right down into the hip flexors. Maybe wiggling some soft tissue out of the way. When you're ready, onto the tiptoes, soles of the feet may be down, or lifting the legs. Finding what works for you. Arms are going to reach forward for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Place the hands on those blocks, snug them in, cross your ankles, pull the heels in, and we're going to press to lift up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Coming down. Legs out in front again. Navasana boat pose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lolasana, hands down. You can cross the same ankles. Press, lifting the hips up. Maybe toes float, or maybe they stay grounded like this. For 4, 3, 2, 1. Hips come down, back to our boat pose. But this time we're going to slide the blocks out of the way. And then slowly recline down. Instead of soles of the feet flat, maybe heels lift up. Arms reach forward, and we're going to roll. Really focusing on the spine. Can we bring the pelvis flat onto the mat first? And then starting to roll the vertebrae down. Shoulders are lifted. And then the shoulders come down. And then the head comes down. Maybe drawing the knees into the chest. Little hug. Extend the left leg out down onto the mat. Interlace the fingers on the shin or on the back of that right thigh. And just hug the right knee into one side. No bicycles, don't worry. We'll switch sides. Right leg extends, left knee is into the chest. Finding that hand position and then just gently pulling in. Inhale, draw both knees back into the chest here. A little happy baby, reaching the heels and soles of the feet up. Hands grabbing onto ankles, shins, or feet. Gently roll side to side. Together once more. We're going to come into a reclined twist. So arms spread out in a T shape, palms flat down. Two options for our twist. Keeping the knees together, letting the knees roll over towards the right side. Or if we want to go a bit deeper in our twist, from the center, extend the right leg down onto the mat, and then let the left knee cross over towards the right, keeping the shoulders firmly planted down. Maybe that left knee hovers, that's fine. We're finding a little bit more space, creating it with every breath. If we bring the gaze over towards that left hand, creating a full spinal twist while it crosses that complete axis from our tailbone up into the end point of the skull. Inhale, gaze and left knee, come back to center. Draw the right knee in, pausing here in a neutral spine. Then extend the left leg down onto the mat. Right knee crosses over towards the left side. Remember, we're trying to grip down. Palms face down, right hand on the mat, right shoulder on the mat, even if that means the knee floats. And then maybe right gaze coming over towards that right hand. Really marinating in some of that juicy tension you feel, allowing it to burn or melt off. Inhale, come back to center, draw both knees in, wrapping the arms around, rocking side to side. And then exhale, extend the legs down onto the mat towards the top corners. Arms now face up in an open position. We've reached it, the end of our practice, the final but most important pose of the practice. Allowing yourself to simply and completely surrender here. Before transitioning back into our busy world, our busy life, allow yourself to stay here and absorb all that your body has learned and moved through. Knowing that on the days you struggle to feel good, promise yourself you won't judge or put yourself down. Accept how you feel, but don't let it become your truth. Devote your attention to the present moment and focus all of your energy on love and gratitude. I invite you to stay here as long as your day permits, and I'll see you next time on your mats. Namaste.